Man, look at the saints. Look at the people. Wow. 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 Thank you all for joining the call this morning. Let's see. Miss Pat Robinson, I like that jacket. Sheepskin is one of my favorites. Wow. Thank you so much. Mr. Lance Kelly, thank you for joining. Pastor Collins, it's good seeing you, dear. Thank you so much for being on the call. Oh, Miss Jill Murphy out in Chicago, Illinois. Thank you for joining the call. Wow, let's see. Miss Eileen in San Diego, good morning, good morning, good morning. Miss Belinda, good morning so much. Crew, Miss Jones, always faithful on the call. Here comes Mr. Al Randolph, Miss Pat Robinson. He's late. Look at it. All right, Mr. Al Randolph, you just, Anyway, Miss Caroline Baker, good morning. Miss Christina, good morning. Mr. Daryl Ranson, thank you so much for joining. Ed Navarro, Fresno, thank you. Freddie Sherman, good morning, sir. Good seeing you. Regional Vice President, Ms. Johnson Driscoll, wow. Good morning, dear. Ms. Harrison Mills, thank you so much. Ms. Evelyn Phibbs, Regional Director out of Fresno. Ms. Joyce Brewer out of Fresno, thank you so much. It was good seeing you on Saturday, dear, breaking bread with you, Ms. Brewer. Ms. Kimberly Garcia, good morning. Ms. Walker, good morning. Mr. Payon in Japan, good morning, sir. Woohoo! Ms. Castro, thank you so much for joining the call. Miss Vaughn, Melissa Vaughn just joined the call. Mr. Marvin Carter, Regional Director out of Fresno, good morning, sir. Thank you so much. Sam Foster down in Dallas, Texas with Mr. TD Jakes. Good morning. Let's see here. TJ in Ohio. Oh, hold on. My camera went crazy. Thank you so much for joining. Miss Natalie Parr in Las Vegas. Good morning, dear. Mr. Ryan Swallow, part of the bakery organization. Good morning. T. Hayes, Miss T. Hayes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Mr. Carter. Mr. Casey Carter in San Diego, good morning. Mr. Ismail, ¿qué pasó, señor? Miss Sensation in Florida, let's see what kind of glass she got on today. There she is. Okay. Oh, her and Mr. Nelson changed glasses so much, it's hard to tell who's who. There you go. Mr. Winston Herbert, good morning, sir. This is Zoe Duffy, part of the bakery organization, good morning. Wow, Miss Konohara Kinko out in Japan. Good morning, dear. Hey, you're amazing out there in Japan. Thank you. She's going to be introducing me again tonight at our 6 o'clock BOM PBR, Zoom PBR tonight, right at 6 o'clock. Mr. Brian Baker, over billion million served. Mr. Brian Baker, sir, good morning. Let me see that handsome lad. Where is he on here? Let me see if he's got his picture showing or where is he at? Let me, hold on, I'm going to stop in the presses. I got to. It's not him yet. That's Mr. Carter. There he is. Okay. All right. He's got his picture up. Okay. Next to Miss Jocelyn Driscoll. Okay. All right. Miss Castro, I love that blue outfit. That's beautiful. Hey, Mr. Chris McDowell, thank you so much for joining. Mr. Tasha Ismail, Regional Director out of Fresno, California. I had a great time Friday and Saturday with you, Miss Dear. I thank you so much. And Mr. Hussein, thank you so much for hosting me and allowing me to lay my big heels in your resort there. Thank you so much. Crew, Mr. Ramsey of the crew. Look at the crew group. Okay, crew. Miss Tracy Gilmore is jumping on. Mr. Dwight Williams, good morning, sir. Hey, look, a leader admit their mistakes. I admit I sent the wrong text messages out. I admit it. See, a leader always takes responsibility. Miss Catherine Williams said, that's all right. Well, you guys already knew that Mr. Lewis was coming on today. Sometimes I think, what if I send something else out? See how many people respond. Is it really, it's so funny sometimes, but I admit it was a mistake. Okay. But anyway, today we have a great call lined up. This young man needs no introduction. To a lot of us, we know he is. But I was doing a study with my team this morning on GoPro. And I want to introduce him this way today. Can I change it up a little bit? Have you guys all noticed all the speakers have just stepped their game up a lot on this call? Have you noticed the speakers, the knowledge you guys are getting has stepped up? I mean, way up. See, we're getting ready for 2021 when the onslaught of people are going to jump in your team. So we have to be prepared. But I'm going to introduce this young man this way. I'm going to, in GoPro, a page, and I was reading and studying with some leaders this morning, page 124. It says model successful behavior. So write that down. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but this is what I'm going to describe him this morning and get him on the call. Modeling successful behavior. Here we go. Try to avoid reinventing the wheel when you get involved in this profession. I'll read that again. Try to try to avoid reinventing the wheel when you get in this profession. The hard work has already been done. No matter what company you're in, it's easy to find someone who is very successful, Mr. Lewis. It doesn't matter about getting customers, finding prospects, inviting, presenting, following up, closing people, getting people started, building for the events, or any other skill. The word is skill, write that down, skill, that are people in your company right now who have mastered it. Mr. Williams, Mr. Julian Lewis have mastered these skills. And unlike any other profession, the successful people in your company are urged to share their secrets, are eager to serve their secrets. All you know and all you need to do is model your behavior, and you can begin to enjoy their results. So all I gotta do is follow what they're doing and saying, So without further ado, modeling successful behavior, none other than the great Mr. Julian Lewis from San Diego, California.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm trying to find you on here. Oh, what's wrong with it? There you are.
Is it a little chilly out there still?
Yes, sir. That's why I'm indoors today.
Man, it changed on us. It went from that cold weather, and then yesterday was 90, and today is going to be 88 degrees or something like that. So all of you that are in cold weather, yes, you can hate on me all you want. That's San Diego. You got to come out and visit. And Mr. Thomas, we got to figure out a time for you to get out here as well. But I am so excited to be on here, and I'm so grateful, honored for you to have me on this platform to be able to share my thoughts and my experiences with everyone, and just for you to be able to share with me your advice, your opinions, and have personal conversations with you. And I think about this, and I explained this the other day. I was talking to Natasha, and I was talking about how, and we were sharing about how your courage to do this industry and get to the top, not once, but twice, the friendships that we have, the people that we've connected with, we don't just owe you, for earning money and making a lifestyle for ourselves, but a lot of the relationships and the people that pour into me on a day-to-day would not have been fostered if it wasn't for your courage. And so I just wanted to thank you tremendously. As a human being, as a person who you are, you're a blessing to me and so many others. So thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you guys know what acapella is? All right. So what I'm gonna do, who knows anything about rap? All right. So when I was a kid, I rapped, and not like your friend who rapped that sounds horrible. I actually traveled up and down the coast doing music when I was younger, and the name I got for myself in San Diego is because I used to do something called a battle, right? And I actually have a picture of me in Vegas during the Magic. Some of you guys know what the Magic convention is, and I'm not talking about like pulling, animals, rabbits out of a hat. I'm talking about Magic convention is where all the fashion comes together. And back in the late 90s, every single rapper had their own clothing line. So you had Jay-Z, he had his Rockaware. You had Puff Daddy, who changed his names a million times, but he had his own clothing line, and everyone had their clothing line. And so I remember winning this huge battle in Vegas at the Magic. And a battle isn't like today. If you were born in 1980 or prior, see, I was born into where rap was already there when I was born. Kind of like how our kids, social media was already there when they were born. So a lot of these kids that are growing up, I've forgotten more rap than they've ever known. Does that make sense? And so I used to freestyle battle. And so I'm going to freestyle. If you don't know what that means, also call it a cappella so you guys understand. But I'm going to freestyle today because there's some things on my heart that I want to talk to you about. And before I get into that, what I want to do, just for those of you that are new, some of you know me, some of you don't, but those of you who are new, I've been in this industry for a long time. And I talk about, you know, the highlights. And I remember old school network marketing was taught, hey, you know, things like fake it till you make it. And it was taught to only talk about the good and not the bad. And I understand that and I get that. But every single movie I've seen, we loved it if you saw all the struggles and then the win at the end. Every single book that I've seen, you love it because every chapter is different. You've never gone to a book like the reason why I love Can't Hurt Me is because of all the struggles. Imagine going through chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 2, it says the same as chapter 1. Chapter 3 says, oh, the same as chapter 1 and 2. And chapter 4 says, oh, more of the same. You put the book down. So a lot of times we're afraid to tell the negative parts of our story because we're afraid that people won't be attracted. It's the complete opposite. So I want to tell you a little bit of my story, just so you understand where I'm coming from. And I think it'll erase some question marks, and it'll also allow you to be able to see what you're going through, possibly through my struggle. All right. So I got involved with this business. Everything was exciting. I didn't know I was involved in the business during a transition time. Okay. There was a huge company that went under, and a lot of those people from that company they were blessed to come to ACN. And so my upline he was at the top of that company, came over. And so there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of excitement because everything was new. And I was brand new. I had never been in network marketing before. So I just thought it was normal. My mentor was traveling. He had teams in his other company in New York, in Colorado, in all these places. And so he was flying around trying to do whatever he could to create some cohesion with those teams that had just come over. They had a special leadership training in New York with Larry Raskin. These are things that I heard about before I had come in. And so when I joined, I was placed in someone's organization. I love that guy to death. We became close friends. All of you know him as Bill Bailey, okay? You guys know Bill Bailey, and I love him to death. And he really helped me in the beginning. But here's what happened. I was in an organization that was trying to figure out a new system with services that were similar. And so it was a lot of struggle. And at that same time, the company was transitioning because every company goes through growth, all right? So it was hard. But here's what happened. My mentor shared something with me, and I respect him so much for this. And Mr. Thomas, you know what I'm talking about. Here's what he said. Just his sheer work ethic in the other company. His old company was going down like a ship in leaps, and it was on fire. There was a huge hole in the bottom of the ship. People were jumping out left and right. And here's what's crazy. During that time, his team was going through the roof and having crazy success in a burning ship. I want you to think about that for a second, how random that is. He was doing so well. And then it was hard because he had to change during a time when he was doing so well and walk away from the first experience of making millions at an early age, and feeling like a little bit of entitlement only because he had worked so damn hard for it. Does that make sense? Like, this isn't fair. And so he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder when he came over to the new company. And so he was upset. And we used to talk early in the morning, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning in his penthouse about these things. Now, mind you, I had a strong reason why. So it didn't matter the confusion that was around me. I went to ACN's website and I printed out their compensation plan. And I learned, I looked at this like engineering. I learned the compensation plan. And I remember, if I have to find it one day, I drew out this picture. It was a conveyor belt based on what I saw with the compensation plan. And it looked like an ETT conveyor belt. And some of you don't know what ETT is. It was the first position back in the day. And so I could say, oh my gosh, this is network marketing. You meet someone, you help them go ETT. In other words, it's like a parent. You give them the skills that they need, but at some point, the child has to decide to step up, right? And I said, okay, ETT. And I started to see how exciting network marketing is. And then I saw how much you could make. And then I freaked out. I'm like, I didn't know you could make this much, but like, I started doing the numbers. Did anyone do this? Is anyone knowing what I'm talking about? And then I remember thinking, oh my gosh, my mentor is never in town. We didn't have technology like this today. So the only way he could do a presentation is when he was in town. And so I would know he was coming into town. I would know where he was coming into town. And then I would do everything in my power to get as many people in front of him as possible, right? And it was a struggle. And so I started to mimic him. And anytime he was in town, I would follow him to all of his presentations. Sometimes that would lead me in Vegas. Sometimes that would lead me to Orange County. Sometimes that would lead me to Riverside. Now, mind you, I was coming home because I was traveling, working 80 to 90 hours a week, and then trying to do this with my mentor. Why am I telling you all of this? Because it was freaking hard. It was hard. But you know what was harder? Thinking about my daughter growing up, being 18 years old, and then telling her, I'm so sorry, baby. Daddy tried, but he couldn't figure it out. That scared me half to death. And so it wasn't about blaming somebody. It wasn't about all these things that I see a lot of people do. And a lot of people don't realize that you allow a component that's supposed to build you to steal your lunch. And so I know that Natasha talked about courage and fear yesterday, and I want to build on that. Listen, fear is necessary. Fear is the component, it's the same component as resistance in the gym. I need you to understand this, because so many people run away from fear, just like they run away from problems. Fear is necessary. If there's no fear, you're reckless. A lot of people say, oh my gosh, that leader is fearless. No, they're not. They're full of fear. They have courage. Fear is the resistance needed to work the mental muscle to develop the person you need to become. If you jump out of an airplane, like Natasha said yesterday, you're in fear, wondering if the parachute is going to open. But in order for the parachute to work, you have to jump. Bottom line. And some of us are on these calls every day because this is our safe space. And it allows us to feel like we're doing network marketing. It allows us to feel like we're doing ACN. But when we get off the call, then we're frozen in fear. And we're trying to get on a call every single day to motivate ourselves to get over that fear. Listen, the truth is, the reality is, you're just going to have to jump. You're going to have to jump. And you're going to have to identify a strong enough reason why for you to do so. Look, 2016, I had difference of opinion, and we had a conversation, and we started building our own organization. 2016, okay? That same year was one of the hardest years of my life. And right after that, a lot of you know, it was back to back. I lost my uncle, and then after that, 6 months later, I lost my father while trying to build an organization by myself. And I could have made a lot of excuses. I could have said, you know, this is not fair. This is not, and, you know, still paying for Saturday trainings at the Marriott in La Jolla. Okay. All this stuff. But that's what leaders do. You know, I just looked at Trent Shelton, who's going through his mom, cancer came back, and he has his struggles and he's fighting, but he still has to do what he has to do for his family and for himself and for his team. And my question to you is, how long are you going to wait to stand up as a leader? See, yeah, life happens, just like Ms. Driscoll said, life happens to all of us the same. Like, there is nothing that you're going through that a leader who's won in life hasn't gone through and decided to do it anyway. Whatever is killing you right now in life, I promise you, there's a leader out there that won despite that same issue. And so you have to ask yourself a question. What are you focused on the most? Are you focused on the problem and the circumstance? Or are you focused on the success and the opportunity? Guys, I know that things can be tough. You know, being a single father and raising my daughter while building a network marketing business was crazy. I used to at 7 o'clock, or I would get up super early and work out. 7:52 a.m. is when her first school bell rang when she was in elementary school. 7:55 a.m. is when I did the Breakfast of Champions call for the entire team. So it was madness. Anyone who drops off kids, who actually walks their kid in, knows it's madness. There's kids, recess, screaming. And so with all that in the background, I would be welcoming people to the call. And I looked at that as a blessing, because I said, if I could do that while all this madness is happening, I'm going to become a beast at being able to do this. Other people get frustrated. Can they move the time up? Can they change this? This isn't fair. I have to get my kids here. And one thing I never did is I never said no to an opportunity to help my mentors. You know, to this day, I'm so grateful for Mr. Thomas. Even before we were on this platform, anytime he asked me to do a call, I'd say, yes, I'll be there. It didn't matter. I didn't look at my calendar. I didn't have to look at my calendar, because he deserved that access to me to be able to push something aside to do something for him after everything he's done for me. And so a lot of our success comes from our moral compass and our background. And I'm telling you these things because it was hard for me. And guys, there are days like when my father passed, like every day for 2 weeks, I was in tears. I see Tila Duhayes on here. She remembers that time. And I was still showing up every single event on Tuesdays, on Saturdays, Friday leadership when we were off of Arrow Drive. Because as much as it hurt, that was the resistance that needed to build me. Does that make sense? That was the leadership, that was the resistance that needed to build me. And I believe that a lot of you could be so much further if you realize the painful things as the resistance that needs to build you. Stop looking at it as, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have these problems. Look at it as blessings, because the person who gets through it is going to bless so many people with your story. You know, and as you become that person, you become more attractive. I fell down many times figuring out this business, trying to figure out, to the point where I could mimic Nakota on a three-way call. I learned him so well that people thought they were talking to him, until I could step away and find my own voice. But I mimicked, just like Mr. Thomas said, I found people that learned how to do it, and I mimicked them until I could accomplish it. And I worked tirelessly until it happened. And I'm saying I because this is my story. And I told my daughter, and I tell her this every single day, I remember taking her to 6th grade and realizing that my dream to take her and drop her off at 6th grade came true. Because I think about how I missed my father when he was when he was in the military, and I just wanted to be there for her. And all the fight, even if it was just to know that I had the relationship I had with her in middle school, would have been worth it. And guys, we could talk about social media, which next week I'm going to be talking about social media. We could talk about how to recruit now. We could talk about all these things. But at the end of the day, the thing that stays the same is the human component, and the fact that you're going to have to accept suffering through growth. You're going to have to accept challenges to build you, and you're going to have to accept being uncomfortable and having courage despite having fear. If you don't accept those things, you won't find your biggest talents. Your biggest talents are going to come through the most challenging times in your life. I hope that makes sense to everyone. And I'm just telling you this out of love. Forget, I'm not saying forget network marketing, but network marketing works for the person that works on themselves. Network marketing works for the person that looks in the mirror and sees all their faults and loves themselves despite their faults, and loves themselves enough to better their faults. Network marketing works for the person that's vulnerable, authentic, and appreciates the struggle. Network marketing works for the person that falls in love with the process. Realizing that you're going to pour into so many people along the way whose lives will be completely changed just by a sentence or two that you share. And with that, I know oftentimes Mr. Thomas would ask me to share a story. And I want to share this with you today because, I haven't shared this in a long time. And the story, a lot of you know the story, but the story is about Harriet Tubman, right? And some of you know this story. I've been sharing the story for years, but it resonated with me because of what Harriet Tubman was, who she is to me, who she is in my life as a Black man, and what she represents for this country. And, all the things that we're arguing back and forth about today. And the scary thing is if you think about slavery during slave times was legal. Let that sink in. Slavery was legal at one point in time in our country. Why am I saying that? Because legal doesn't mean moral. Legal doesn't mean ethical. But it was legal. And Harriet Tubman, she would go up to slaves during that time, and she would ask them, she would go up to them and offer them their freedom. Now, I need you to really pay attention to this because I'm almost done. And I'm going to ask you to participate. How many of you if you were a slave, I want you to really think about this. How many of you, if you were a slave and Harriet Tubman went up to you to offer you your freedom, how many of you would go by a show of hands? Keep them up because I got to look through. Okay. All right. I'll keep them up because I'm still looking. I see thumbs up. Yeah, if your camera's not on, put a thumbs up or something. All right. Hey, why don't you have your hand? No, I'm just playing. Everyone's hands up. All right. Everyone's hands up. So you get it. Now, mind you, get this. I remember hearing someone ask this question, and I was in an arena. There were like 10,000 people in the arena, and someone asked the question, and the guy next to me didn't raise their hand. And I went like this. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You wouldn't go? You would stay a slave? Are you serious? And so here's what you want you to think about. And guys, do me a favor. Just stay with me. Just stay with me just for a second, okay? Take the fingers off the chat just for a second and focus on me, okay? Because this is important. See, Harriet Tubman would go up to slaves and offer them freedom. And I asked you guys, how many of you would be free if Harriet offered you freedom? And every single one of you raised your hand. And the reason you raised your hand is because hindsight is 20/20 vision. You're thinking about the fact that you're free right now. You have a difference of perspective. You know what freedom is to you based on what they didn't have. And so obviously, if Harriet Tubman went up to you to offer you your freedom, you would go. But let me ask you in a different way. What if your great grandfather was a slave? Your grandfather was a slave. Your father was a slave. Everyone who looked like you, walked like you, talked like you, or thought like you were slaves. How many of you could conceive being free if no one around you was? See, in that moment, freedom really isn't real because no one around you has it. You don't even understand it. It doesn't seem like there's something that's tangible for people that look like you. So how could you really conceive it if no one around you had it? Despite that, Harriet Tubman would still go up to people. And she would say, sister, you don't have to live this way. We're taking people to Canada. It'll take you 6 months to get there, but when you get there, you'll be able to own your own land. You'll be able to live the way you want to. More importantly, your children will live free. And you know what most people told her? You're crazy. I'm not going with you anywhere. I may not be free, but at least I'm surviving. The last slave that ran is dead. And they would stay put. And then Harriet Tubman would go up to other slaves and say, Joyce, you don't have to live this way. We're taking people to freedom. It's going to take you 6 to 8 months to get there, but it'll be worth it. And then Joyce would get excited. She would get excited. She would go back to the plantation and she'd try to round up the people that she cared about. And out of love, the people that she cared about would say, you're crazy. Don't you know what they do if they catch slaves running? Not only are we not going, you shouldn't go either. And because those people loved her, she would listen to her loved ones and they would snatch her dream of freedom right out from under her. But Harriet Tubman kept pushing. And she would go up to other people and she'd say, Daryl Ranson, you don't have to live this way. Take it 6 to 8 months to get there through the Underground Railroad. We're going to get there. But when you get there, you'll be able to marry whoever you want. You'll be able to live the life you want. And more importantly, your children will live free. And just like Joyce, he would get excited and he would go back into the plantation and he would round up the people he cared about. And he'd say, guys, we can go to freedom. And they'd say, you know what? You need to stay here. Don't you know what they do to slaves? And the difference between Joyce and Daryl in this situation is he'd say, well, then you stay put, I'll go, because I'd rather die for my freedom than live in captivity as a slave. And God forbid I have the same results for my children. See, 6 to 8 months later, he'd find himself in Canada, being able to marry whoever he wants, being able to live the life he wants, knowing his children will go up free. What did he have to give up? See, he had to give up his way of thinking. He had to have courage and faith to believe in something he couldn't see. And he had to have a strong enough reason why for his future family to break himself out of slavery, break the law to free himself so that he could go out there and create a new life for everyone that came after him. And they interviewed Harriet Tubman in Canada and said, you must feel great about yourself. You freed hundreds of slaves. You know what she said? I would have freed thousands if they knew they were slaves. And a lot of us are like, how do you not know you're a slave? Well, let me ask you this right now. If your great grandfather had a job and your grandfather had a job and your father had a job, and why do you think so many people think network marketing is illegal? Because they have a slave mentality. See, you can't break a slave mentality. The only person that can break someone from mental bondage, the only person that can break someone from mental shackles is themselves. They have to believe in something bigger. They have to know that they're called to do something great. They have to believe that the seed of greatness was planted by God. They have to understand that they were blessed before they were born, that they were put here with a purpose. And if they don't have that, you can't change them. See, Harriet Tubman didn't try to convince. She knew if she tried to convince someone against their will, that they could endanger the whole movement. Because there was no running back once you made a decision. See, if you don't understand that the difference between a slave and a W-2, why did they get rid of slavery? It's not because of what you think. It's not because they wanted to free people. If it was really the government wanted to free people, there would be no such thing as systemic racism today. If the government just really wanted to free people, we wouldn't be dealing with civil rights issues today. See, the reason why they freed them is because if they're W-2 employees, you get more back in taxes because you couldn't tax a slave that way. They made it an equal opportunity for all. And if you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. Back then, 5% of the plantation were the owners. 95% were slaves. Today, 5% of this country are the owners. 95% are the W-2 employees. Did you catch that? This country was designed for 1099 business owners, by business owners fleeing another country because they didn't want to pay what? Taxes. You gotta know the rules. And for you to be a free man or a woman in this country, it's going to take the same courage, because corporations don't want to lose their human resources. Corporations at the top have wealthy people who have lobbyists that make it harder for their cattle to become free. And that's why we have so many regulations in the industry of network marketing. But it doesn't mean we can't do it. You just got to free your mind first. Understand that fear is supposed to be there. Use it as resistance to build yourself. Become attractive through your struggle and the story, and people will appreciate it. Go out there and continue to fight and have a strong enough reason. Let the challenges build you so that you can connect with more people who can resonate with your story and relate to you. And you'll find yourself, because you help more, getting everything you want in life. Guys, like I said, I just wanted to freestyle for a little bit with all of you and just have a heart to heart. We all struggle. We all have problems. And as you have more success, you're going to have more problems. But listen, when you become a six-figure earner, you have bigger problems to solve. The way you become a multimillionaire is you solve the bigger problems than the person that makes six figures. The way you become a billionaire is you've solved bigger problems and more problems than the person that was a multimillionaire. You just got to become excited about solving problems. And when you do, along with serving people, you're going to do well. So guys, I'm going to pass this call back to Mr. Thomas. I appreciate all of you for being on here and just letting me talk with you freely for a little bit. And again, next week, we're going to be going over social media and what to do so you're not chasing people away during this time, because this is a small window that we have. And most people in this world are going to miss it. They're going to miss it. And I don't want anyone on this call to be most people in the world. So whether you're 83 or whether you're 23, you're going to learn how to do social media in a way that you can attract more people on a day-to-day to you, so you'll have a constant group of exposures. And we all know exposures lead to customers and business owners. So we're going to be talking about that next week. But guys, like I said, pass it back to Mr. Thomas. Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas, where are you at?
There's nothing wrong with anybody's phone. My phone is off mute. I just want a moment of everybody. I'm not going to say a thing for about a moment. I want all that to sink in, because some of you are still writing like I was, and some of you, your brain is thinking and it's got to catch up to itself. So I'm going to sit quiet for a second and let all that resonate of what he did when he freestyled from 95% to to employees. I just want that to sink in. Just let it I want y'all to receive that. That was powerful. Sometimes we get things so profound like that, we still miss it because we have a lot of noise around us, whether in the background or trying to think while you're writing, or not really laser focused of what was said. So everybody just take a moment and just think about what you just heard. Could have freed more 95%ers, employees, if they only knew they were slaves. How would they know when everybody else around them is working? Wow.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
I love you to death. And I appreciate your perspective. And I don't know if a lot of people are aware of it. You know, if you're in that construct, if you're in that job situation, and I'm not disrespecting jobs, but I'm saying if you're in an environment with people who have a slave mentality, then the way you view how a free man or woman thinks can sometimes be negative. You know, like we passed in California where Uber and Lyft drivers actually get to be free still, you know, and there were so many people fighting to make Uber and Lyft slavery, to have employees just because they wanted a few silly benefits. And they will gladly do this for security, when maximum security is prison. That's what maximum security is. So when you get the most security, you might as well just commit a crime and go get locked up. That's the most security you can ever have. They'll feed you, they'll have a bed, but you don't have freedom. And so I appreciate you for teaching me and teaching others about how to think like free men and women, so that we can impact the world in a different way.
Thank you for saying so. Folks, the only freedom you have is between your left ear and your right ear. It's called a brain. And most people use it for a freaking hat rack. A hat rack. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Protect me. The more you ask for the government to protect you, the more you're enslaved. Let that sink in. This is so profound. I don't think I hope and pray that it fell in your brain and not just in your ears. I hope and pray this messes you up all day long to see it differently. She said she could have freed more slaves if they knew they were slaves. This is so good, my battery. I've been on the phone early this morning since about 4:30 on calls around the world, trying to free people. Folks, just ponder it for a little bit longer. Because after you get off this call, your world is going to be filled with noise and music in the background and people crying, this, that, and the other. You're going to be like this the rest of the day. And I don't want I don't want you to miss this. This was so profound. I wanted to sink in. Take a minute for yourself. Reflect, reflect, reflect. What you just heard, you don't hear on TV. What you just heard, you don't hear on the radio. What you just heard, you only get it on this stuff. One more minute's not going to hurt you. Matter of fact, one more minute may make a difference in your whole world. One more minute could change your whole 2021. The butterfly effect just happened. Mm, mm, mm. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we're going to be doing the 1 through 10 tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Coast time. A double, triple day to get people on here to change your trajectory of your family tree for 2021. But it starts tonight. It starts today. It starts right now. Tonight will be the effects of what you heard today. Tomorrow morning, Mr. Dwight Williams will be our special guest speaker. And yes, I made a mistake. Leaders make mistakes, and a real leader owns up to their mistakes. I sent the wrong text out this morning, and I got 8 of you text me. And it's okay. I got broad shoulders. It happens. I'm human. I'm going to end the call on this. How many people are you going to lead to freedom through ACN? Or should I say, do you know that you know that you know ACN is your railroad to get you to where you want to go? There's a little black book say, just don't be hearers of the word, but be doers of it. And it's hard to say. I'm done after this. Once you get the truth, it's up to you now. Can we show Mr. Julian Lewis some serious? If this message was that profound, can you put something in the chat so you can see it? Don't just put something in the chat. What did you get? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat just for another minute. Put in the chat. Jump. All right. Well,
Fear is your secret weapon. That's what makes you strong. Fear, doing it despite the fear. That's what makes a leader. You know, that's it. I talk about the Bible sometimes, but Jesus didn't want to die. He asked his father if he really had to do this. Do I really have to do it? I need you to think about that for a second. His father said yes. And he had courage despite his fear. And he did it. Without fear, man, without fear, we wouldn't build. We wouldn't. Guys, just Akiko, I love you to death. Push through it. If you have a lot of fear, that means you'll probably be the top producer out there, because that just means if you build through it, you're going to be the best. Don't give into it. Use that and build yourself up.
I want to end the call. I want to deputize you guys to be the Harriet Tubman of ACN. I want to deputize you to be the one to tell you can free people through the ACN opportunity and follow you. Let's see how many hands I got. Those that want to be deputized as a Harriet Tubman to free people through the power of ACN. You're doing that now, but do it now. Really go do it. Really go do it. Don't you realize not just you, the country, the world is dependent upon you. Look at what they got you doing. Look at what they're telling you. Look at the slavery that's coming. Look what's happening right now. And it's going to get worse next year. And by God, it's coming. You need to pick up and go tell everybody you run into about the great thing you have to change their family tree, to get them from slavery into the light of being an entrepreneur, to becoming a 5%er and not just a 95%er. I've only had a job once my whole life, and I've been trying to yell it from the mountaintops forever. And I'm still doing it to the day I go home to glory, because that's my mission, is to help people. Mr. Lewis just told you his mission is to help people. I had to go in and go pro to introduce him today. I knew this was going to be a special call, but you need to take it upon yourself to share the good news. Have a blessed day. And matter of fact, when you get off the call, sit back and just ponder for 2 or 3 minutes. No TV, no music, no nothing. Just ponder what you got today. Let it sink into your inner sanctum, your deep down in your spectrum of your soul, of your inner sanctum. And let that permeate through your whole being today. And watch your walk, your step, your conversation going to be sharper than it ever has been before, because it's your time to take control and rise up. Once again, Mr. Lewis, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It blesses me to see you blessing others like you're doing today with some profound information and knowledge. And every one of you are meant to be great, because remember, he does not produce junk. Now stand up and go work through the fear. Work through the fear to become great. I'll see everybody tonight at 6:00 p.m. on the call, preferably with 1, 2, maybe even 3 guests. But get on the phones. Power hours last night. We saw people getting customers. We saw people getting appointments set up. Get them on here tonight. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day and a fantastic Tuesday. We'll see you tonight at 6:00. Miss Lewis, thank you once again, sir, for a profound message.